Welcome to EMERJ TV with Reggie Smith. This podcast is about all things production for the people in front of the camera or behind the camera. Let's join Reggie right
Hey
now.
everybody, welcome back to another episode of EMERJ TV. Talking with a good friend of mine, co-worker, employee, chucklehead, Dan Blakeney. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Red. Thanks for inviting me.
Let's get right to it. Podcast is about, we're just talking about experiences, but my first question to you is, how'd you decide to get into it? Or, did you, like when you were like knee-high to a fly, did you want to be a big cameraman when you grow up?
I did not. It kind of was, I wasn't paying attention. It happens so often with things that we do over a long period of time.
Mm-hmm.
You know about my family. I'm from a, educated professional group of people.
Yeah.
And when I went to college, I mostly was going because I was supposed to. And I took hard science classes because that was where my brain was, like in chemistry and geometry. Yeah. All of that stuff.
I'd never known that. Anyway, go ahead.
You would have never known that, right. And I followed that path until I didn't have the mathematic discipline to go farther, right? So I got as far in chemistry as I could get till the next level. It said, you're going to have to take calculus. And I was, so I started chipping away at that list of standard stuff that everyone must take at college. Mm-hmm. And one of them was media. And there's a television studio at Eastern Michigan University, Eagles.
Yeah, whatever.
Hurons, actually. And I met some nice people there. They had a great film instructor. His name was Henry Aldrich. And Lucy Liggett taught basic TV 101. I just saw her the other day. She's in the Friends of the Library. She's a tiny little old woman now. And she claimed to remember me, but I can't imagine that being the case. But so we did our student stuff. And they were awful, but we didn't know any better. Mm-hmm. And my internship, which is where you and I met, was at TV3 in Taylor.
Yeah.
And that was when I got a taste of working with people who knew more than a teacher. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I was never a bad person, but I did not respect teachers as much as I do now.
Yeah.
But I learned so much more in the first couple of weeks from you and Dave and Greg Eno and Ken Schramm, the people that you're going to have here. And I liked it immediately. And the first part of the semester, we'd never rolled the truck out of the garage. So the end of my semester, they said, well, you can try to freelance here. We $6-7 an hour. Mm-hmm. But we're going to go shoot football games. And I said, what? And that was when we took that truck to do remote production, 5 full camera football. Yeah. And that's when I really thought, this is an outstanding thing to be around.
It had to be really nice for you to, especially, meet Dave and I. Because,
yes.
We were the epitome. And so, little kid from Ypsilanti, from the burbs, it's like, wow, I'm working with these really cool guys. This Dave guy and this Reggie, and especially me.
Especially Reggie.
I know I had a really big influence.
Such a powerful influence.
But one thing Ken and I talked about, and Jim, about TV3 is we were a crew. That was a crew. And
right.
We felt like we were as good. The only difference between what we were doing and what they were doing on NFL or NBC was they were doing professional football and we were doing high school. But as far as the work ethic and all that stuff we put into it, it was the same. Matter of fact, we did CBA basketball.
Right.
And we covered it. We covered it as well as CBS and NBC and all those guys. We were good.
Since no one that I worked with last night is going to see this. I had a camera meeting last night with a guy who I dearly love and worked with him many times. Didn't have a shot list for us that was anywhere near the ones that I would produce working at the Catholic Television Network,
right?
Or that were handed to us when we were going out to do Southgate and Taylor Truman.
Yeah.
You know, so the thing that I drew from that was that you said we were a crew. The only thing that was different was not only what was on the court in front of us, but was the gear. So we went at it like we were seasoned pros with the best gear, even though that was not the case. But we still knew when a wide shot was appropriate and a tight shot, and when to shoot the crowd and when to get a coach. And those shot lists that we generated, I use today. If I'm lucky, the director remembers what we knew.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you have 3, you know, college
Right.
cameras, or you got, you know, 4K cameras. Your shoot is not going to be as good as your crew. The crew is what makes. It's just like a hammer.
Yes.
I can take a hammer. Okay, I can hammer some stuff, whatever.
Right.
Give it to a carpenter, or, you know, a real construction guy. There's no limit to what he can do. So, you know, what we did, and see, when we met, you know, we clowned around.
I'm so sorry.
Like that. No. Well, I'm not gonna say that.
We're not gonna.
But
That's not.
But the thing, but the crew, we laughed and joked around. But the reason why that was the work was so serious.
Right.
So you let off steam, joking.
Well, the show
And
was
you know,
important.
and stuff, you know, and so, but the thing about it is everybody lined up. And so Dave and I had been there, I think maybe a year or 2, maybe 3, I don't know. But when you came, you fit right in because of your attitude. See, you weren't in awe of, which was cool,
Right.
but you got the task and you did it. And see, that led to when Dave and I got, I referred to them as Gored Motor Company. So when we got gored,
Right.
we knew enough about you and about your personality and had worked with you enough to say, you know, well, Dave would say, well, let's hire Dan. I said, okay. And that it wasn't because you were funny.
Right.
It wasn't because I thought you were nice. It was because I had seen you produce. I had seen you produce in the production side and stuff like that. So
When you guys asked me, I didn't think twice. I said, this is a great thing to do. And back to TV3, John Velty, who's gone on to great things, one of our producers back then, he gave me my first basketball shot list, and I went in and I climbed up the stands and I built my camera, I leveled it, and I set my frictions, and I got it all ready, and I helped other people. Then I put my headset on and I stayed at my camera, and at the end of the day, he said, you were perfect today. And I said, I missed a bunch of shots. He said, I'm not talking about your shots.
yeah,
He said, we'll get better at that.
right.
He said, what you were where I needed you to be, and you were wearing your headset, and I never had to go look for you. And he said, that's going to be so good for you if you behave like that on these shoots. And he's right. I worked with guys that set up their camera, and you can't find them until lunch. And there's more to do.
Yeah. When you said you made a lot of mistakes, you don't start out good at anything, and you learn. You know, when Dave and I started volunteering at TV3, I had only been in television, period, 3 months. My background isn't TV. I knew how to record.
Right. You were a sound
8
person.
tracks. And,
right.
No, I wasn't a sound person. I knew how to record 8 tracks and cassettes. I knew how to watch my VU meters. That was my background. And then the first job I got, it was doing audio for live TV because I knew how to not distort.
You understood headroom.
And so when I got to TV3, you know, Ken and John and Mark and Bob and whoever else was there, first of all, they had gone to school. I was 25 years old. They were like 20, 19, 20, 21.
That was part of it too. I remember that.
And so I was like, these guys are so far ahead of me. So what I had to do was keep my mouth shut and be where they wanted me to be, but then learn. So I was learning. I learned how to shoot basketball, shooting basketball.
Shooting basketball.
Now I knew watching it what I wanted to see.
Sure.
So when they came and said, well, first I was stuck on audio, but when I finally got on camera, it was, this is your shot. Okay, I was handheld, and we were shooting, our shots were the replays. Well, I had watched it enough on TV that I knew how to follow, and stuff like that. And basically my guide was, what would I want to see if I was at home? And doing audio, what would I want to hear if I was at home?
Right.
And that was how I learned.
And now, because the level that I'm working at now,
Mm-hmm.
I want to shoot what the person who hired me thinks the people at home want to see.
Yeah.
But we learned it there.
Mm-hmm.
And first of all, television is ubiquitous. We all grew up in front of TV screens. And it looks so easy.
Yeah.
And it just flows into your face and into your head, and then you understand it. And it took me a couple of years for the light to go on in my head and say, as a camera guy, I have many responsibilities, but when the game's going, I have to think in two ways. I have a responsibility to the switcher,
Mm-hmm.
and then I have a responsibility to the replay room. So your tally light goes off, and then you go get something else,
Yeah.
which they'll use for a rollout or the second or third replay.
Mm-hmm.
But I would have never known that
Yeah.
watching television.
Yeah.
Well, I do now. When I see replays, I said, oh, they got that from the slash position, and he was probably just shooting the coach before the whistle, But it looks easy. And I have a friend in Ypsilanti who works in movies, and I was laughing with him and his wife. I said, I watched the movie, but in my head, I'm watching the movie get made. And she said, he does that all the time.
Yeah.
So we're hard people to absorb media with.
Well, you know what? Well, one thing. So then with what you just said, your education isn't complete, and I'll tell you why. There's one more thing you have to learn. I don't know if you'll learn it. Some of us are brighter than others.
Is it not to accept invitations to podcasts?
It's, you have to learn how to watch TV. You have to learn how to watch movies again.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh man, did you see that? What would they think? And I thought, I'm not enjoying it anymore.
Right.
And so I had to turn it off and learn how to watch. And I'll be watching a movie or something. I go, did you see that? And I go, see what? Because it's just off. And when I sit down to direct or whatever, I mean, that switch goes on, and
Yep.
I mean, it's Mr. Production, But like going to see movies, they'll say, man, did you see what they did? I said, well, no, I just went to see what they did. I said, first of all, movies have been so disappointing.
Right.
So now I just watched them to see what they did. That's my attitude. I'm not going to see it because I expect it to be really good. I've watched. And I went to see Top Gun in the theater because I wanted to see the aerials.
It was beautiful.
On the big screen.
Yes.
That was the only reason why. It turned out it was a pretty good movie, but Disney bought Marvel and and why they make that sale. But anyway, that's the side. But
Right.
But the thing about it is, basically, you got to learn how to watch TV
Again.
or a movie.
Right. I like old stuff. I mean, just, I don't know, but I do.
Mm-hmm.
And I rediscovered the old Peter Gunn.
Really?
TV
Wow,
show.
you went way. I thought you talked. Well, even Bill Kennedy.
And
was
that
so
thing
good.
is beautiful.
Yeah.
And there were only 3 seasons of it. It was groundbreaking in a number of ways. But I'll be watching it and said, there's no way they had a crane, right? Like, no. High, and then come down to reveal the sign of the bar he hangs out in, and then see him go through the doors. That's a lot for 1959, or what,
Production, you use what you have. Now I know they did have cranes.
Right.
They were ugly, but you use what you have.
Oh yeah.
Now, one time we did this. I had a job to do on a Monday, and I went and rented a wireless
Yep.
lavalier Friday, but then I had to go to the football game we were doing, and I drove my car. So when I got there, I said, Ken, I got a wireless lavalier in the car. I said, let's see if we can get the ref to wear the microphone. And he did. The only thing I was like, please, God, don't let him get tackled.
Right.
But he even got into it. Everybody got into it where they would, blow a whistle and he would come and he'd turn his mic on and whatever. Just like
give a mic to the wrong guy. Right.
Just like NFL. So, and the thing about it, it was things like that made what we were doing even more cool. We all enjoyed it. We loved it.
Well, let's nail down the dates. Are we talking 88, 87?
Oh, man, I don't know.
We don't need to nail it down. But we had Slam Cam, right? We had that old Icky that was orange or pink on the side, and we took C-clamps, and because not every high school gym had plexiglass backboards. But if there was one that was plexiglass, we were up there stringing a camera to look through the glass.
Yep.
Like we were supposed to. Like, and that was, I tell people all the time about my business. I said, if you walk up to a truck and there's 30 people working a football game, or like last night's 17 because it's small.
Still, that's a lot.
5 of these people are good guitar players. 2 of these people might be published. They're all going to be the most interesting person you ever had lunch with.
Yeah, yeah.
And one of them has a weird skill that you've never encountered, like rodeo rope tricks, or and that's just the group of people that you end up with when you do what we do. As much as I bemoan when I run into men my age who are comfortably retired. I said, I could have done that. That guy's not smarter than me, And I said this to my dad once, and my dad said, he also wasn't on the ice when they gave the Red Wings the Stanley Cup. You chose a path in life that was of interest to you. And I'd love to have more money if anyone's hiring. But still, what a great way to spend your life with humans.
And I look at guys like Martin Scorsese, and there's another guy I know whose name is Jeff Jones. Martin Scorsese is in his 90s. He's still directing.
He's still teaching.
You don't have to stop and see. I don't now. Dave, he talks about retiring. I never intended on. I still don't intend on retiring. It'll be like, okay, that's a wrap, and because I love it that much.
I do too.
It's not a matter of, it's a job, and I've talked to people and say, I said I love this so much that I can't describe it.
Right.
And when I first got in, I've said this a few times on this podcast. When I first got into television, I would tell people, they would ask me, what do you do for a living? I said, I just work.
Yeah.
Because I figured they would find out how much fun I was having and want to do it.
We don't need to dilute the right.
And I didn't see anything, and this was before I knew what it paid. I was making $5 an hour, $5.75. And then I remember one day I was like, somebody made $100 in a day? And then I was like, I heard the incredible. Somebody made $250 a day for running camera. And so we got hired for a job, and me and Dave, I said, Dave, I'm gonna ask for $200 and see if I get it. And they paid, and I was like, what? And I said, you mean tell me it's this much fun and it pays that much? So it was like I say, have your cake and ice cream too?
Yeah.
But it was icing on the cake.
Well, absolutely. I hired a kid, he's probably 40, to put a shower in my place. And it was $1,500 for his day. Right? He's a $150 an hour guy, not a $52 an hour guy.
Yeah.
And he loved it. I heard him in there snickering. I heard him laughing. And I came around the corner and he went, master plumber. So I knew that he had just solved a problem that only he could have solved.
Yeah.
And I feel like that all the time when I'm working. I was in Cleveland a couple of years ago. Father's Day. And at the center field cameras in Cleveland, the crowd walks like right behind you.
Really?
Like they can touch you on their way by. And they never do, but you're you're amongst the folks.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm looking down, and there's this really old, and this is 10, 12 years ago, and there's an old guy and his family, it's Father's Day, and they're helping him, like, pulling us up the steps.
Yeah.
And he's just smiling at me like a goon. And he says, it's nice to see guys like us still working. I said, find your seat. He is 25 years older than me. I said, oh. But you're right. And I said, yes, well, I was on the roof of Toledo Stadium. It's 6 stories. And I said, friends of mine do this thing in Pontiac called Roadkill Nights, and they drag race on Woodward Avenue right in front of St. Joe's Hospital.
Really?
Yeah. And it's a day. It's 9 hours of streaming, and you're on a camera platform, and it's 1,000 degrees. And every once in a while when they invite me, I'm busy. Like, that's a lot. And I know they're not watching either. But I would dearly love to die on camera. I just want people to see me fall. I don't want to expire because it's 200 degrees and I had a stroke and they can't get the lift down.
They were like, camera two. Dan. It's like somebody go up there and see what's going on.
Why is Dan shooting the sky?
He's dead. he had heat stroke.
I want to be on Sports Center, man.
I hear you.
But so I'm kind of hamstrung because I'm not properly safe for retirement. So I will do this as long as I can anyway. And you know that I'm working at that church in Ann Arbor, and that's half-day rate. And I don't set up and I don't tear down the gears there. I turn it on, have a seat. I run 4 PTZ cameras, and they do nothing but service looked great, Dan. Thank you so much. And it's like television. I said, oh.
Thank you. See, that's what's interesting is because you do a job and you hope you didn't butcher it too badly. Right. That's your thought.
Right.
Oh man, it's like, oh, here they come. And he's like, and they'll start with, I want to talk to you about the production. It's like, oh boy. See, this was great. And I was like, oh, you really loved it. Because I shot for a guy, and I was shooting an interview, we were handheld, I was handheld, the guy standing, and the guy just kind of leaned on the wall, so I just, just followed him over. The director called me, he said, I want to talk to you about your shooting. I was like, well, what did I do? I said, I got a wide shot, I got some exteriors and stuff, and I said, well, what did I do? He said, the guy, when he was talking, he leaned against the wall. And I said, yeah. He said, you followed him. It's like, well, that's what a cameraman is supposed.
Right.
And he said, usually I end up with an empty shot. And I was like, well, who have you been hiring, And I'm dreading this call. It's like, oh man, he's gonna say, I'll never call you again. And I did Gospel Fest at Cobo. This was the biggest shoot that I was kind of over it. The producer didn't show up, so I had to tell him where to roll the truck and cameras and stuff. 8 camera shoot.
Oh.
And then they were lighting and stuff. Cobo was a reunion and stuff. And I mean, people just working everywhere. And I sat in the middle of it and I thought, if I mess this up, all of this is for nothing. And to make matters worse, there was a guy named Cato. I think his last name was Cato. He used to work at Channel 56. Everybody knew Cato. Right. Nobody knew me. Right. So it was between he and I directing, but he couldn't do it. He couldn't direct because he got there later. So he was directing screens sitting behind me. And I thought, okay, I just got to call this. And I'd done a lot of stuff at churches, a lot of music. I said, I'm just going to do it like I do this stuff. It was a gospel concert anyway. And midway through the shoot, I'm calling a shot, and then I hear somebody call a shot. And then I call another shot, and then somebody called a shot. And I'm going, and I said, okay, who's doing that? Because I thought somebody was mocking me.
Right.
Turned out Cato was matching my
was mirroring your shots.
Right. And at the end of the shoot, Now, this truck was 30 days old, $3 million truck. The EIC came out and said, this is one of the best productions I've been on. I was like, I want to say, really? But
Right.
I was like, well, thanks. You know, but it's because of the high bar that you set for yourself. You don't take anything for granted.
Sure. And you know this, and they don't, but they're going to hear it now from me, is that 90% of the mistakes we make don't make error.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to set up a shot. You're trying to get to see the guitar player and the singer, like right when she starts to sing,
Mm-hmm.
and you just don't get there. And you stay on the shot that you had, which was good enough, or you wouldn't have had it up in the first place.
Yeah, yeah.
And in your heart, that's a failure, or a mistake, or a lost opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
But people at home are just watching music.
But I'll go you one better than that. As the director who doesn't know what you're thinking as a camera operator, and he'll go, oh man, nice shot, and take the shot. They might even say, nice shot, Dan. And you'd be like, well, man, I didn't get what I wanted,
Well, you live for attaboys. And in sports, it's composition is appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
But what they really like is when the announcers are talking, especially in baseball, 2 months ago on a week that I don't know why, when it was cloudy like this with a 3-2 count, this guy threw a curveball. And anytime they talk strategy, they want to see a manager.
Mm-hmm.
So you just whip over and shoot Sparky Anderson, and the guy takes it. He says, 2, thanks. Attaboy.
Yeah.
You live for attaboy.
Oh, yeah.
And that's, in sports TV, that's just for being the next thing they wanted to see without being asked.
Yeah. And you can make a director look good, or you can make him look like a big loser.
Oh, and they so appreciate that when you make them look bad.
Well, Daniel, I used to call you Dan. I don't know what Daniel.
You can call me Daniel anytime you want.
But I'm gonna draw this one to a close.
Sure.
But
It's been great.
I purposely didn't talk to you about your pro career.
I'm sorry.
You would say that.
But we'll talk about.
We'll talk about it in the next episode. But everybody, first of all, I'd like to say, if you're interested in coming on and having a conversation, because that's what these are. If you want to have a conversation, you can reach out to me on Facebook. It's EMERJ TV, EMERJ space TV. You can reach out to me there. If there's somebody who wants to see who's not into Facebook, there are a lot of those. You can type emerj.tv in any browser. It'll bring you right to my page. You can watch it there. You can reach out to me at emerj.tv@gmail.com. Again, emerj.tv@gmail.com. Leave a message or reach out, and I'll be glad to have you on. And also, for those of you who I know who I haven't talked to you yet, don't worry. I'm coming. Anyway, thanks for watching.
It's great.
Thank you for watching EMERJ TV with Reggie Smith. Join us next time for more discussions on all things production. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.